In this presentation, we're going to review how you would create a calculation tag in OPCsystems.net to bring multiple values together in a math equation real time. Let's use the OPC Systems Configure application found under the program group OPCsystems.net. Then let's select Configure Tags. We'll select the service that we want to configure. And let's add a new group to the tag configuration called Calculations. Let's go down and select that group called Calculations and right-click on it to add a new tag. Put in a new tag name. When we select the tag, we can see the data source can be changed from value to OPC item, can be a remote OPCsystems.net tag, the calculation that we're going to review in just a moment. We can also use as a data source time from the CPU clock in year, month, day, hour, minutes, seconds, the total seconds in a day, weekday name, weekday, and also all of the universal time codes. So let's set the data source to a calculation. We see over to the right there's an edit button that appears. We'll select that edit button, and here is where we would enter in the calculation. The first thing we can do is insert a tag value into the equation. Let's select the tag ramp value. Now if we wanted to add this value to another tag, we'd simply insert a plus sign, or we can come from Insert Function, and here's a list of all of the different math functions that you can use. When we select Add, it includes the plus sign. Now we would insert another tag into the equation. Let's insert ramp2 value. We'll click OK and select Apply Changes. And now we'll see the value updating, which is a result of ramp plus ramp2. Let's take a look at some of the other functions that are available. Under the math category, we can do simple math functions, add, subtract, multiply, divide. We can do the modulus. We can inverse the sign of the value. We can return the absolute value of something. Let's use that function just real quickly. So using ABS, we can include any kind of functions that we would like. Let's take ramp2 minus ramp1. Click OK and apply changes. And now it's returning the absolute value. And we know that the ramp value currently is always positive. And so if we take away the ABS function, we'll see that this is an actual negative number. As you enter your calculations, there is syntax checking that is performed each time you click on the OK button or the Apply button. So it'll tell you if there's an error in the syntax of the calculation itself. Back to the math category, we can see we can take the power of something, the square root, exponential value, natural log, log, and the ability to convert a binary coded decimal value to an integer number. So with this, a lot of the PLCs have common BCD data source values and need to be converted to an integer value, and this is the function that can do that for you. We also have trigonometric functions, sine, cosine, tangent. We have comparison functions. Those are commonly used with if statements that we're going to cover in a moment. So you can compare if it's greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to. There is the bit compare functions. Let's take a closer look at that function. With the bit compare function, the syntax is BITC, and the first argument is the integer that you're going to compare. That would be a tag. The second argument is the actual bit position that you want to do the comparison. So if you used a syntax of tag.value with bit position 0, that would return true if bit 0 of the integer was true, and return false if the bit was false. Back to the compare category, we have also bitwise AND, shift the bits left in an integer, and also shift right in an integer. We also have limit checking for minimum, maximum. If we use min, and let's select our tags ramp and ramp2 for this function. and apply those changes, it returns the minimum value of the two. Currently, ramp 2 is the minimum value. If ramp ever became lower than ramp 2, then it would return that value. The same is true with max. So using this, it returns the maximum of the two values. Now it's returning the ramp value. Under the logical section are some of the most powerful but very simple functions. The if statement is the most commonly used function that we have. And here you would do a comparison. Let's do a comparison on ramp 2. If it is greater than 0.5, then we return the value 1, otherwise return the value 0. Click OK and apply changes. So currently ramp 2 is greater than 0.5, so it's returning a 1. Now it's less than 0.5, so it's returning a 0. So the true and false return values can also be other functions or other tag values. So we can return a different tag value. Let's return, say, ramp 3 if the ramp 2 value is greater than 0.5. And we'll return ramp 4 if it's less than or equal to 0.5. So we apply those changes, and now we see the value 4. So now the value returned will either be ramp 3 or ramp 4, depending upon if ramp 2 is greater than 0.5 or not. Under the logical category, we also have and, or, and not. So in our if statement, what we'll do is we'll insert an and function. That is basically an ampersand. And then we'll put another comparison to include. We'll use the value ramp. And if it's greater than 50. So in this equation, ramp 2 has to be greater than 0.5 and ramp has to be greater than 50 for the result to be true. And if so, it will return ramp 3. If that condition is false, then it will return ramp 4. The or function is the pipe symbol, and the not is an exclamation mark. We also have text functions. If you want to convert, say, a value to a string, we would use the string function. This doesn't have any formatting, it's just basic conversion of whatever the number is, converts it to a string. Let's implement one of those. In that process, I'll do a little bit of string concatenation. So if I want a constant string, something like the value is, and then I can concatenate that with the string concatenation function. That's also ampersand, same as the and in a logical comparison. Then we'll insert the text function string, and we'll include a tag to return. So we'll take ramp 2, click OK, and we'll need to change the data type to a string data type so this actually returns the right value. And there we see the return result for this tag now is the value is and then whatever the current value of ramp 2 is. The string functions are commonly used in a lot of our recipe dynamic queries, data logging functions, if you wanted to update a specific record, where you can put in text like where the product code is equal to, and then whatever the current product code is in the PLC is what that string result will be. These are useful to drive those recipe, data logging, and dynamic report configurations to return specific results from the database. Some of the other string functions, another one is called the format number. And with this one, instead of just converting it to a string, we have the ability to specify the format of how the number is going to be displayed as a string. So the first argument is basically the number that needs to be converted. The second argument is how you want the formatting to occur. So in this example, we return 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. Select Apply Changes, and then that's the formatting that takes on. There's also the text function of the ability to return the length of a particular string. So if we wrap this string with this function, it's now going to return a number that is equal to the length of the current string. So let's set this back to a short integer. And now we know that the length of that current string is 17 characters. You could use that string length function in combination with the substring function in the ability to return a particular character string out of another string. So the substring function, the first thing is the actual string itself. This could also be a tag value as a source as well. Here we have a combination of both constant string and also tags formatted as a string. The second argument is the starting point within the character string that you want to begin returning the substring. So if we enter in a value of 4, that will be the 4th character position is where the substring will start. It is 0 based, so 0 means it's the first character within the string. The third argument of the substring function is how many characters within this string you want to return. If you use a very large number, it will basically return all of the remaining characters after the starting position. Now with the data type of a string, we see that we have just a portion of the full string being returned. Instead of returning the value is, we just have value is. When you define a data source as a calculation, you see the additional properties that show up. It's called source when bad. The default is the source has normal bad quality. So when the data source itself, with any one of the tags that's feeding the calculation, goes to bad, the result of the calculation will also be bad. So I'll come up and set ramp2 because that's a tag in the calculation, and we'll see that the data quality of that calculation is now bad, indicated with the red indication here. Let's go back up and set ramp2 back to good quality. So if you specified a tag in the calculation that doesn't exist, or if it's lost connection, say to a remote service, one thing I should point out is the remote networking is possible. So when you're inserting tags, you can put in a network node name right here as a remote IP address, network node name, or domain name, and you can include tags from other remote services in this calculation. That's a way to bring multiple values from multiple services together as a common result. So occasionally, though, you might have a network failure, and you might want to hold or set the tag sources for each of the calculations to a particular value. So if we say set the sources to default value, and let's enter in a value of say 1, 2, 3 and apply those changes. Now when any individual tag goes to bad quality feeding the calculation, that individual tag's value within the calculation will be set to this default value of 1, 2, 3. So let me set that to bad quality. And now back under the calculation tag, we still have good quality, but now we see that the value for ramp2 has been changed to 1, 2, 3. Let's go back up and set it to good quality. And to demonstrate the point that it is each individual tag, I'm going to modify this to be a math function, simple math function. We'll take ramp2 plus ramp3. And we'll change the data type to a double float. So now we're adding ramp2 and ramp3 together. So let's go up and set ramp2 to bad quality as well as ramp3. And now we see the result of the calculation is 246, which is 123 plus 123. Now we'll come back up and change ramp 2 back to good quality. And we'll see that now it's 123 plus the current value of ramp 2. I'll set ramp 3 back to good quality again. The source, when bad, can also be set to hold sources to last good value. When we do this, it's going to retain the last good value that it's received from each individual tag. We do have to have all of the tags reporting in with at least one good value for the equation to come up with a good result. But after that, individual tags, whether they be on a remote node or local node, if they go bad, then we'll hold on to their last good value that they had reported in. So let's demonstrate that functionality. So we'll set ramp 2 to bad quality. And now the tag result is basically ramp 3 plus ramp 2's last good value. You can export your tag calculations to a CSV file. You can also programmatically set them up as well using the OPC systems component. That is demonstrated in the WinForm example code. Under the program group opcsystems.net, there you'll see a source code example that's a WinForm example. This could also be used in a web application, a Windows service, or also in a WPF application. The OPC systems component is free for you to use, and it is powerful for you to be able to set up tags from your own data source. I'm going to use the CSV export function right from the configure application so we can export this to a Microsoft Excel file. When we open this file, we see that the value source for that individual tag is defined as calc. That is the designation if you want the tag to be a data source of a calculation. We also see the argument for source values on bad quality that we were just working with. And over to the right, we have the actual calculation under the column value-calculation. Now, if you're working with if statements, they include commas, so you want to make sure you save with Microsoft Excel directly back, and you'll see that it includes quotations around the calculation itself so that individual commas within the calculation will not be evaluated as a new column designator. If you're using the programmatic interface, you want to follow this same exact format. I'll use the compiled version of the WinForm example code to demonstrate this. Under Configure, CSV Import and Export, I have the method here called tag CSV Export. And if we expand this out, we should be able to go down to the tag under the calculation group. There it is. And we see right here in the middle that the ramp 2 plus ramp 3 calculation is wrapped inside of double quotations. So keep that in mind if you are programmatically defining calculations, to make sure to wrap your calculations with quotations if they happen to contain commas. We do have other training videos on the other data sources on how to connect to OPC servers, OPC clients with the training video opcclient.net. We have the ability to bring values in from a database with opcrecipe.net. .NET applications with the Programmatic Interface with the OPC Controls data component. Calculations are just a way to use all of those values and calculation results themselves to create math equations. And the calculation engine is free for you to use in the OPC system service. That comes free with any of the product features that you purchase. If you have more questions about opcsystems.net, you can either view our online training at our website opcsystems.com, or select Contact Us. There you'll find our contact information where you can request a free product demonstration.